The holiday season can make our minds feel as uncomfortably full as our bellies after Thanksgiving dinner and cause the emotion ocean to stir like it's hurricane season. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. My name is Dr. Amanda Weiss, and I'm a licensed psychologist with an expertise in grief and loss, pet bereavement, and mental health in the vet med industry. I've had the honor to be a part of VMHS for the past few years. The holiday season is a hectic and difficult time of year for many people. This is particularly true for vet med professionals, where the holiday may be extra busy and overwhelming, and that gets amped up even more during the weeks and months following the holidays. With less staff resources and increases in emergencies and euthanasia, new puppy appointments, clients without the funds to care for their pet, surrenders from people who did not consider the level of responsibility pet ownership requires, and the list goes on. The reality is that the holiday season and beyond can feel like the stress and distress have been supersized. While the weather forecast predicts there may be emotional storms and mind storms of varying intensity, frequency, and duration this time of year, there is a spot of hope. Just like we can use raincoats, boots, and umbrellas to keep from getting soaked in an actual storm, there are mindfulness tools and other strategies that can be used to help manage the intensity and impact of whatever storms you encounter. Mindfulness truly offers the best protection. It allows you to be in the present moment on purpose with curiosity and without judgment. As humans, we have a tendency to have feelings about feelings and feelings about thoughts and thoughts about feelings. Mindfulness nor meditation is about emptying the mind or even relaxation. That could be a benefit. It is not the goal, though. Mindfulness disengages these secondary emotional processes and provides a pathway to affect regulation and compassionate attention. So you're able to be with the initial thought or feeling as it arises, rather than inviting the flocks of thoughts and feelings that typically follow when we're ruminating or trying to push them away. Spoiler alert, they only scream louder when we try to do that. So in order to be truly prepared and willing to navigate the holiday season, it is important to first accept that this time of year is likely to be more overwhelming and challenging for a plethora of reasons. Remember that acceptance does not mean you approve of or even okay with it. It simply means you are acknowledging the reality of the season as it unfolds. And in that space, you will have an option to choose how you want to show up and cope in the face of it. Peace of mind and heart are priceless gifts you can give yourself and those around you this year. In the service of acceptance, though, try not to set unrealistic expectations that, it's going to feel like rainbows and butterflies all the time. Instead, aim for pockets of peace or moments that you can offer yourself a spot of calm, neutral, or pleasantness. The holiday season is a marathon, and there will likely be moments that your current environment may feel uncomfortable for any number of reasons. If leaving is not an option, take a moment to go channel surfing on the Noggin Network. Through your mind's eye, you can take a mindcation to mental scenery or memories that offer a sense of peace, comfort, or joy. Think about the emotional state you want to be in and choose a channel that can bring you there for a brief stay. So I live in Florida and happen to be visiting New York City on the coldest day of the year. So in my mind and on my Zoom background, I have been tuning into the tropical station as often as I can, even just tapping into a sense of how the warm sun would feel on my skin. And so as I've been speaking about the stress of this season, you may be noticing dread-type thoughts, subtle or acute feelings of overwhelm, twinges of tension, or other unpleasant inner experiences popping up. So I invite us to take a mindful moment together before moving on to the catalog of tools to help mindfully navigate this time of year. So I invite you to just settle into your chair. Notice how your body feels against the chair or whatever surface is supporting you. And begin by taking a slow, deep breath in, noticing the air of the temperature as you breathe out, and slowly exhaling, noticing the subtle change in temperature. So it's a little bit cooler as we breathe in and a little bit warmer as we breathe out. Try taking a slow inhale down into your belly and exhaling with a deep sigh. Really unleashing whatever may not be serving you that you're holding on to. You can also scan your body starting from the top of your head to the tips of your toe, noticing any areas of tightness and giving those areas a squeeze and release of any tension you may be holding. And just move your body around however you may need or however it may need in this moment. And then I invite you to come back to my voice as an anchor to return to this present moment. And so now for the fun stuff. First, a gentle and strong reminder to hold yourself kindly this holiday season. Self-compassion is not a positive thinking strategy. It's about acknowledging your pain and struggle and responding to yourself in a kind, caring, and supportive way. What kind of best friend would you want by your side as you're going through this? What words, gestures, or actions would you want them to offer you? Let those be your guide to being your own best friend this holiday season. And for more information on holding yourself kindly, you can check out my previous webinar specifically on this topic. So in general, the breath is a powerful resource here. It is inherently neutral. It's an anchor to bring you back to the present moment when your mind goes astray, and it is portable. You are always carrying it on your person. Our bodies breathe us, even if we're not thinking about it. And so a bit of a morbid fact, we'd all be dead if we actually had to be aware of our breathing to stay alive. So the invitation is to bring awareness to your breathing in order to harness its power. Try to breathe diaphragmatically, also known as belly or yogic breathing, taking deep breaths into your belly and slowly exhaling, rather than more short and shallow types of chest breathing. Paced breathing is particularly helpful because it requires your mind to be purposely focused on counting the breaths instead of getting entangled with any unhelpful content your mind is offering up. A few variations of paced breathing include box breathing, so breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, holding that for 4 seconds, and repeating a few times. There's also 4-7-8 breathing, which is breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 7 seconds, and exhaling for 8 seconds. And another type of paced breathing is called coherence breathing, where you can put your hands on your heart, breathe in for a count of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out for a count of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continue to do that until your heart, mind, and body feel more balanced and aligned. And many people also tend to hold stress and emotions in their body. So any type of progressive muscle relaxation exercises or mindful movements are important to have in your toolbox. For instance, you can scan your body from head to toe, tighten each muscle area for 5 seconds, then slowly release and relax. You can breathe into unpleasant sensations and exhale with a deep sigh. Another option is to take a deep breath in and tense all of the muscles in your body. Hold for a moment, then slowly release your breath and relax your muscles as you say relax in your mind. You can also just move and stretch the body wherever you notice tension, can squeeze a stress ball, or try pushing your feet into the floor, wiggling your toes, and bringing all of your awareness to the sensations of your feet on the floor. As I'm sure you're all intimately aware, the mind is very much like a time-traveling, problem-solving, judgmental storytelling machine. We cannot control where our mind wants to go, nor turn off its tendency to look for and even create problems that are not occurring nor solvable in that moment. Anytime you notice your mind pulling you into unhelpful territory, whether it be thoughts, feelings, sensations, urges, or memories, try engaging with any one or all of your senses to ground yourself back to the present. For instance, look around the room and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. As you're on phone calls or encountering difficult clients or circumstances, you can even stay grounded by having a small, tangible object like a paper clip, fidget tool, or even a pen cap in your hand and noticing how it feels as you move it around with your fingers. Right? The idea is that you're focused on these neutral sensations rather than getting hooked with whatever story your mind is telling and the unpleasant feelings that may spiral. You can also have, essential oils handy and just take a slow inhale of that and savor, the scent for a moment. Not surprisingly, grounding with our senses is also effective for managing internal and external distractions. Additionally, when you're aware of the story that your mind is telling, you can use unhooking strategies to get a bit of separation from the content and choose how you want to respond. We cannot control the initial thoughts and feelings that arise, but they do not have to have so much power over the thoughts, feelings, and actions that follow. After all, thoughts are just words, not truths or ultimate facts. So for any sticky inner experiences, when we name them, we can tame them. Some unhooking strategies include adding the words, I'm having the thought that, or I'm noticing the feeling of, in front of the thought or feeling, naming the story, aha, there it is again, this is, unmanageable story, or this is or here it is again, the this is too much story. We can also repeat thoughts very quickly or slowly in our mind. We can say the thoughts in a silly voice or even sing them. Any of these help to give some distance from the internal the internal content and hold it a bit lighter. Just like we can get hooked by our thoughts, we can also unhook. And how liberating is that? We may not be able to control the content, and we don't even need to change it. It's all about modifying the context in which we experience it. This can even apply to your interactions with more difficult or harsh clients or colleagues. Think about a TV, movie, or cartoon character they remind you of, and imagine that character's appearance and voice as you are listening to them. This is not meant to demean or belittle them, of course. It is purely to make the interaction feel lighter for you. While you cannot control what they say or how they say it, you can choose to control how you experience it. There will be a lot that you encounter this time of year that is out of your control. And as humans, we tend to pour much of our time and energy into thinking about and trying to fix or solve the things that are outside of our circle of control. And that leaves little of ourself left to take action on what is actually in our control. Especially when there is nothing you can do to change the circumstances, it is most helpful to redirect the arrow towards yourself. What is coming up for you in the face of this? And what tangible steps or actions can you take to cope with it? Just remember that when something falls outside of your circle of control, how you choose to show up for yourself and respond to others is within your control. And speaking of responding to others, while you cannot control the buttons of yours that clients or your family or friends or strangers, might press, or the judgmental thoughts or feelings that arise, you can choose to respond versus react. The key here is in the power of the pause, and not the cute little pause, but taking a moment to stop and reflect. Right? Reactions are automatic, somewhat like a reflex. If I had a ball in my hand and I said I was going to throw it to you, right? So here's a ball, I'm throwing it to you. You'd probably put your hands up to catch it without even thinking about it, right? It's like a reflex. It just happens automatically. Now, if I said this time when I throw the ball to you, you have to do something different other than catching it. That would require you to think about the action before doing it, right? So maybe you would duck or swat it away, but it requires, a moment to actually think what you're going to do before you do it. And so between stimulus and response, the invitation is to pause for a moment and notice what is coming up for you, and then think about what you want to say or do next. By taking this brief pause, you have the control to thoughtfully respond instead of reacting to the thought or feeling triggered by the initial stimulus. There is also a mindfulness technique called RAIN that can be useful when feeling overwhelmed or when a button of yours has been pushed. So RAIN is an acronym that stands for R, recognize what is going on for you in that moment. Take a step back and observe what is showing up. Practice naming or labeling the thought or emotion. A stands for allow the experience to be there just as it is, even if it is unpleasant. Right? Acknowledge and accept the thoughts, emotions, and sensations arising. Let the inner experiences you're having just be present. And as you are doing this, be gentle and understanding with yourself instead of condemning yourself, another person, or the situation. I stands for investigate with kindness and openness. The invitation here is to become curious about your experience. Where do you feel the emotion in your body? What kind of thoughts are going through your mind? And what was the trigger? And lastly, N stands for non-identification or natural awareness, which comes from not identifying with the experience. So here, you want to be a witness or an observer, seeing the thought or emotion as a passing event rather than who you actually are. Right? You can have a thought or feeling, but you are not that thought or feeling. You can feel anger without being angry. You can have a feeling of stress without being distressed. Allow yourself to have the experience without being it. Last and certainly not least, I empower you to honor your oxygen mask this holiday season marathon and set boundaries for yourself. Remember that you cannot set boundaries for others, nor control whether others respect the boundaries you set. You do have control in how you choose to maintain the boundary once it has been pushed, though. Be aware of the old programming when your mind tells you stories about how boundaries are selfish. We've learned from air travel that we must put our own mask on before helping others, because if we didn't, we'd be unconscious in under a minute. The reality is that setting boundaries is the opposite of selfish when it gives you the oxygen required to continue to show up for others. So the invitation is to notice and thank your mind for the "my needs don't matter" or "my boundaries are selfish" stories. Right? Reflect on the value you want to put into play in that moment and set the boundary in the service of that. For instance, boundaries can be set and maintained in the service of self-preservation, self-respect, self-care, self-protection or safety, authenticity, self-compassion, and so on. In general, having clarity on your values, the who and what is most important, is particularly useful in helping to guide your choices and actions. A gentle reminder that flexibility is your friend, especially if you find yourself feeling torn, stuck, or frustrated. So to conclude, I want to thank you all for taking the time to tune into this webinar on mindfully navigating the holiday season in vet med. I truly hope you find these tools useful and helpful as the marathon continues over the days and weeks to come. Just remember that it will not be perfect and that in any given moment, you are doing the best you can. And in the service of gratitude, before you move on to whatever you're doing next, I invite you to reflect on one big thing and one small thing that you're grateful for, and at least one thing you appreciate about yourself. I wish you many mindful and gentle moments, a meaningful holiday, and a heartful new year. Take care.